Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome home with Sophia Clausen.
Now here's our Sophia, podcasting from Shoreline Studios.
Hi, everyone. Wow. Okay. I did not expect this many people to fit in a garage. Okay, I'm just going to accompany myself on this guitar. Just a sec. Okay, here we go. Some of you know this room from before it was a room. It was tools and a lawnmower and about 4 boxes I never unpacked from a move I made 2 years ago. And now, somehow, it's this. So before we do anything else tonight, I want to say thank you to everyone who's here. Some of you walked over, which I love because that's exactly what this is supposed to be. Cottage hospitality, just with a microphone in it. I want to thank a few people by name because they earned it. To everyone from the crafting circle who's here tonight, thank you for showing up for something that isn't quilting for once. And to Bertie and Thomas, thank you. Not just for being here tonight, but for something you may not even know, made it into the show already. If you listened closely to the very top of this episode, before I ever said a word, that was their voices you heard. They lent them to me for the intro, and I'm not going to explain that any further right now because I want you to go back and listen for it later. But I wanted them to know out loud, in front of all of you. I noticed. I'm grateful. This is Welcome Home. It's new. It's a little rough around the edges. Still smells faintly like sawdust in here, if I'm honest. But it's real, and it's ours. And tonight, just as the sun is setting, it's yours too. So, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls sitting so nicely on the carpet, I'm your host, Sophia Clausen, and from Shoreline Studios, this is Welcome Home. Let's get into it. Now please welcome Roberta, our very own Bertie Walsh. Welcome home, Bertie.
Thank you, Sophia. Welcome home indeed. You know, people ask me sometimes how long the crafting circle's been going, like there's a date I could give them. Truth is, I don't think there is one. It's just always been part of life up here. Somebody's grandmother probably started it 100 years ago with a quilt and a pot of tea, and it's just kept moving ever since, cottage to cottage, whoever's got the porch that week. You never quite know where it's landing next until someone says, "Come by Thursday." And you go, and you bring whatever you're working on, and half the time you don't even work on it, you just talk. I've sat in more kitchens on this lake than I can count. Watched kids grow up underfoot at those gatherings. Kids who are grown now, with kids of their own doing the exact same thing. That's the part I love about it. It's never really about the craft. It's about the door being open. And tonight, for the first time, the circle's not meeting at a cottage. We're here, in Sophia's garage, the new Shoreline Studios which many of us worked on to bring to life over the last few weeks. And now we're all a part of its transformation, and in many ways also our own. And speaking of doors being open, I want to tell you about somebody who spent a long time with his shut. Gently, on purpose. For good reasons, but shut. You all know Thomas. What you might not know is that before he was fixing our porch steps and hanging frames in a garage, he spent a long stretch of his life somewhere very quiet. Years, actually. Didn't say much for most of them, from what I understand. So it's a little funny to me now that I can't get him to stop talking about the lake. What do you think, Thomas?
That's fair. Silence teaches you to listen, and once you've really listened to a place for long enough, it starts telling you things. I've spent a good part of this summer just walking, Simcoe County up towards the bay, all through what the old maps used to call Georgina. That is south, central Ontario, where we're all gathered tonight, just outside Keswick, on the shores of Cook's Bay. And out here, Bertie, if you walk enough shoreline and talk to enough people who've lived on it their whole lives, you hear about Kelly.
Oh, Thomas, we can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Walker.
Thank you, Bertie. Kempenfelt Kelly. Some call her Igo Pogo. Fishermen have been reporting the same shape in that water for longer than anyone here's been alive. Long, dark back, moves like a wave that shouldn't be there on a still day. Barry even put up a statue for her. All right, you want the story, not just the name, fair enough. So here we go. This one comes from an old fellow I met early in the summer, out past Beaverton, sitting on his dock like he'd been sitting there since before the dock was built. Said his grandfather used to fish Kempenfelt Bay before the war, the real war, the first one, and told it to him the same way it was told to me, which I'll do my best to honor. His grandfather was out just before dawn, alone, nets already down, waiting on the kind of stillness you only get on that lake maybe a handful of mornings a year. Water like glass, not a breath of wind, and he said something came up alongside the boat. Not close enough to touch, just close enough to see. A back, long and dark, rolling once through the surface. Not thrashing, not fast, just moving. The way a thought moves through a quiet mind and gone before he'd even decided whether to believe it. He didn't tell anyone for years, afraid they'd laugh him off the dock. But when he finally did, half the town had a version of their own. A fisherman here, a cottager there. Different decades, same shape, same stillness, right before it happened. Nobody ever got a photograph worth much. Nobody ever needed one. They started calling her Kempenfelt Kelly after the bay. Some call her Igo Pogo now. Barry even built her a statue down at the waterfront, which I always thought was a strange kind of faith. Building a monument to something you're still not sure you believe in. But here's what I keep coming back to. That old man, he wasn't trying to convince me of anything. He wasn't selling a story. He just wanted someone to actually hear it, all the way through without rushing him to the punchline. And when I really listened, not just to the words, to the way he told it, I understood something. It wasn't really about the creature at all. Sometimes a thing sits right under the surface for years, half glimpsed, half believed, waiting for the right light to finally catch it. Which, funnily enough, is a pretty good description of the fellow I'm about to introduce. He's been playing quietly around these parts for a while now, a shape a few people caught glimpses of if you knew where to look. Tonight, we get to actually see him. Please welcome Ormsby Dunlop from Barrie, Ontario.
You know, I don't think I've ever followed a sea monster story before.
No pressure. Just try not to quietly disappear halfway through your song.
Sounds level. I'll aim to surface a sound instead, one that'll actually have you sticking around. And Thomas, this one's yours. You probably don't know that yet, but it is.
Cedar dust drifting in the morning, soft light falling on the grain. Thomas showed me how wood listens, how every line remembers pain. I learned the rhythm of the workshop, quiet patience of the day, the singing of the tools, the rhythmic beat of the hammer. In unison we hum, shaping what matters. Hands holding, shaping the moment, wood whispering its transformation. Clear water wind across the rafters, old willow branches keeping time. Songs rising out of boards and joinery, stories hidden in the spine. I follow grain like a river, trusting where it wants to go. The singing of the tools, the rhythmic beat of the hammer, in unison we hum, shaping what matters. Hands holding, shaping the moment, wood whispering its transformation. Every tree begins in silence. Every cedar holds a dream. Even in its fallen stillness, there's a future in the scene. I listen for the shape inside it, part that's already true. Hands holding, shaping the moment, wood whispering its transformation.
And thank you, Bertie, Thomas, and Sophia.
Okay, Ormsby Dunlop, everybody. That's a brand new song. First time anyone's heard it, and you heard it here. Thank you, Ormsby. The Carpenter's Light. Very moving. And do I see a bit of a tear in Thomas's eye? I want to tell you all something I haven't said out loud yet, not even in my journals on Substack this summer. And, well, it was weeks ago, before the deck, before the loft, before any of you were sitting where you're sitting right now. I had this feeling, not really a plan, more like a shape I couldn't quite see yet. I knew I didn't want to just sit here alone with a guitar and a microphone, telling you what I was thinking every week. I wanted to open the door. I just didn't know yet who'd walk through it. And then Thomas actually did. Open the door. Mine. And I think his own too, after a long time of keeping it shut. And Bertie just stood there in the light like she'd always meant to be standing exactly there, handing me a version of myself I didn't fully know I was reaching for. I'm still me. I want to be clear about that. Still the same person who sits up too late thinking about things, still asks too many questions, still feels most of this a little too much. That part hasn't changed, and I don't think it's going to. But somewhere between the frames on that wall and the story Thomas just told and the song Ormsby just played for the first time anywhere, I think I got to know myself a little better through all of you. I don't think this is an ending. I know it's supposed to feel like one. Season's closing, everyone's heading back down the highway soon. But sitting here right now, I don't feel like something's wrapping up. I feel like something just actually started. In fact, we're doing this again, right here, next week on Saturday, August 29th, the final show of this season, and I already know. It's going to be bigger than tonight. Family's coming up, friends I haven't seen in a while, and I hope every single one of you walks back over too and brings someone with you. And Thomas, thank you Thomas, has found us another act. A trio from Thornbury, just west of Collingwood, who will be joining us. I heard them yesterday, and I know you're going to love them. So thank you. Thank you for walking over. Thank you for sitting on these mismatched chairs and on cushions in a garage that used to just hold a lawnmower. And thank you for letting me open the door. and then walking through it with me. This is Welcome Home. Thank you to Bertie, Thomas, Ormsby, and again, to all of you. I'm Sophia, and I think we're just getting started. Good night, everyone.
You've been listening to Welcome Home with Sophia Klassen, broadcasting from Shoreline Studios on Cooks Bay. Good night.
Until next time, we'll leave a light on outside the door.